Hey friends, welcome to day 3 of the stitch along. Today you'll be finishing your 3rd flower and then we'll be working on the French knots throughout the little flowers. I've already finished my 3rd flower so that all I have to do is show you how to do those French knots. So let's get started. Okay, so for our first time stitchers, I kind of want to show you how to do a French knot before I show you how to do French knots inside of the petals, because it is a little more difficult trying to go through floss in order to make a French knot. So first I thought it'd be good to just show you a basic French knot to start with. So I'm using 6 strands. We're not going to be using 6 strands down here. It's actually going to be 2 strands, but just for this purpose and so you can see it well, I'm going to show you 6 strands. And yes, I'm going to do it just right in the middle of my tube because I know tomorrow that's going to get covered up, so it doesn't really matter. And it's better than me having to prepare a whole nother hoop. So to do a French knot, let's make sure my hoop stand is tight. You're going to come straight up, pull your floss all the way through. Hold your floss with your left hand, put your needle, which is in your right hand, underneath your floss like this. And for this tutorial, I'm just going to show you one twist because that's what we're going to do down here in the petals. But sometimes, depending on the design, you might do 1 twist, 2 twists, 3 twists. Probably rarely will you go above that, at least in my patterns. But let's go ahead and show you 1 twist. So floss is in your left hand, you're holding it kind of tight. And then with your right hand, you're holding your needle and you're putting it just under your floss. Now you're going to twist it 1 time. Again, you're holding it tight. You see how it's not really moving on my needle? And then I'm going to put my needle down right next to, you can see that, right next to where I came up. Not in the same hole, just right next to it. Now I'm going to push that needle all the way through and continue to hold tight on this left floss. Pull my needle through, continue to hold tight. Tight, tight, tight. Use my finger to keep it tight, and then I'm going to pull it out at the last second, and then there's your French knot. Let's see if I can get you a little bit closer. Oh, that's about, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to come up, pull my floss all the way through, hold tight with my left hand, put my needle under, twist 1 time, continue to hold tight, not too tight because the tighter you hold, the tighter your knot will be, which is fine if you like a tighter knot, but if you want a looser knot, you can hold it a little bit looser, but you definitely don't want to hold it too loose. So start again because I feel like now I just distracted myself. Hold your floss tight with your left hand, put your needle under, twist 1 time, continue to hold tight, put your needle back down right next to the hole you came up from, not the same hole, push your needle down, continue to hold tight with your left hand. Continue to hold tight, use your finger. Sorry, that got in your way. Use your finger to keep it tight and then pull through. And that's your French knot. So next I'm going to show you how we're going to do this inside of our flower petals. Hey friends, you're probably wondering, wait a second, are we skipping to the end and the flowers are already done? I noticed something as I was stitching that would be a really helpful hint for you, and I want to try and throw it in there before I show you the stitching, so that way you don't, I never know when people are stitching with me in the video or watch the whole video through and then stitch. So I just want to try and put this out there now. When you are doing this French knot, I mentioned in the video in just a few minutes when you listen to it that sometimes some of the knots get a little hidden, and I realize that's because when I bring my floss up, I do my twist and I go back down. You need to make sure you're going over a stitch versus down into the stitch. I really hope that makes sense. If I can zoom in really close, you want to make sure that you are crossing over the floss this way versus going down this way. I hope you can see my needle well enough for that. And I'm realizing if you go down, that's when the knot gets a little more hidden in between those satin stitches of the petals. So you want to be kind of crossing over the floss instead of down. Okay, that might not make sense right now. Watch the next part of this video and hopefully it will make so much sense. Okay, so I have my 924 ready to go. It's 2 strands, just like I showed you in a previous video. You're just going to kind of flatten your floss a little bit. I'm trying to grab a piece of floss over here. Flatten your floss a little bit until you see all 6 strands, and then pull those 2 strands apart. And again, it's 1 arm length. I always work with 1 arm length even if I know I don't need that much, just because I'd rather have extra than not enough, because it's really annoying when you get to that last 2 stitches and you run out of floss. It's the worst. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to start here on the left flower, and I'm not going to tie off after I finish one flower. I'm just going to start here and then move right over here and move right over here. So I'm going to come up. No rhyme or reason as to why I'm starting with this petal, just starting with this petal right here. And I'm going to come up, do 1 twist, and come straight back down as close as I can to that original mark or spot that I came up at. It's a little bit harder to see with the floss right there. And then I'm going to hold it tight and then let it go. And I do want to make sure I don't pull too tight on these, because you're putting it on top of other floss. So if you pull too tight, it's going to sink down and then you're not going to see it very well, and you don't want that. So I don't have too much of a pattern that I do with these blue dots. It can sometimes be 2 here at the bottom, and then I come up just a row above and fit a few more. It's just whatever looks most natural, but they're definitely more concentrated towards the middle here. So I tend, because I've done this far too many times, I tend to go all the way around closest to the middle, and then I'll come up and do that second row, I guess you would call it, like up a little higher. And if you want to do 2 twists, you can, if you want your French knots to stand out a little bit more. But as you can see right now, I'm just kind of doing 2 French knots on each petal. And now the thicker the floss you decide to use, then the thicker these dots will be. So if you wanted to do more than 2 strands, you could. You can do more than 1 twist if you want, completely up to you. Okay, so we're going to do these last 2 on this quote bottom row. Got a knot. Oh, nope, I got it. French knots are, I love French knots. I think they really are one of my favorite stitches. But I do not know of a good way to get a French knot out if you end up getting a knot in it, other than cutting it out, which in this situation would possibly be a little difficult with a bunch of floss underneath it. I don't know exactly what I would do other than attempt to pull it as much as possible and cut it, or attempt to use my needle and do a small back stitch to kind of tack it down. Okay, so I've done this first little row. If that's all you want to do, that's fine. I like to go 1 more out, and then after that row, I'll see if there's any other spot that needs a little more. So now I'm on this petal right here, and I'll probably do about 3. 1, 2, maybe 3, depending on the petal size. And if you think about it, this one is going to have probably a fewer than this one right here will, just because it's a smaller flower. Yeah, so I don't think I can really fit a 3rd one, so I'm just going to go ahead and start over here. And I'm just kind of working between the stitches below it. So I'm going here, maybe here, we'll see. after I go all the way around, this is my last petal right here, I'm going to take a look and see if there's any other spot I would like to add some more to. Okay, so I only did one here on the second row, and I wasn't 100% certain if I would like that or not. I'm thinking, I think I'll add one right about here to help balance it out. Not right there. I don't want it to be too much above that other stitch. Okay, so because of that one, I'm going to go ahead and add a third one in this spot because it does look like it needs it. Okay, see, so that one, if you can see, got a little hidden. You can kind of pull it out a little bit and it'll be fine. Or if you need to, you can always do another French knot to kind of cover, or not cover, but to bring it out, accentuate it a little bit more. Okay, so I'm gonna stop this portion. The rest will be fast forward, and then you can work on your own. Okay, friends, that is the end of day 3. Come back tomorrow and we'll be working on our grave cover right here.